CM 365, all about Carnatic music.
Today I'll be sharing with you something about the concept of improvisation in Carnatic music. Improvisation is an English word and belongs primarily to the realm of Western music, where they explain improvisation as the art of performing music spontaneously without the aid of manuscript, sketches or memory. And also in a more restricted manner, if you look at the word, they refer to it as the art of introducing improvised details into written composition. Now we could say that these two concepts hold good for our Carnatic music also, in the sense that in improvisation, that is in the what we call as the Manodharma Sangeeta, we do not have any aid of script or some notation or anything to sing. It just comes extempore on the spur of the moment. Or sometimes we also introduce minor detailed improvisations within the composition. So that also is one form of improvisation that we could think of here. And here we see that there are basically two sets of terms. One is Manodharma Sangeeta and Kalpita Sangeeta. And earlier also there is another reference to the Anibaddha Gita and the Nibaddha Gita. Now the first set is what we are familiar with as Rasikas or musicians. We are familiar with the terms of Manodharma Sangeeta and Kalpita Sangeeta. And no more do we use these terminologies, that is Nibaddha or Anibaddha. And these two terms actually find a reference in the Sangeeta Ratnakara of Sarangadeva. But after that, in the many works also, we see that these two terms have not come to be used. And Manodharma and Kalpita are terms that do not find mention in any of the earlier works. For example, if you take the Sanskrit works or the Tamil works or the Telugu works, we see that these two terms have actually not been used, and they are a more recent origin, I would say, because of the fact that Professor P. Samamurthy in his book has made a reference to these two terms in an elaborate manner for the first time. And he also gives explanation for these two terms, and Manodharma he explains as the Sangeeta, which is improvised music. It is music extemporized and performed and created on the spot and sung, or it is sung on the spot or performed on the spot. It is not a piece of music already composed by someone else or even composed by the performer himself and memorized and reproduced. And on the other hand, Kalpita Sangeeta he defines as compositions previously composed, memorized, practiced and performed. So this gives us a clear indication of the fact that even if you are going to perform a raga, lapana or swaram or something, all that has to happen on the spur of the moment. Here we do not really work on it in the sense of by-hearting all those things and singing it on stage. Of course, practice is definitely necessary for us to understand the Lakshana of the Ragam and the possibilities provided by the Ragam in terms of the permutation, combination or the kind of patterns and other things, the movements of the Ragam, everything that vigorous practice is done. But we do not actually plan as such as to after this Swaram will be sung in Kalpana Swaram, or in the Alapana after this phrase will come. It all comes on the spur of the moment, and that is what it also makes it very a thrilling experience both for the performer and the Rasika, because we really do not know what is to come or how the whole process of the Manodharma will unfold in the concert. So that is what makes it a beautiful experience actually. And Kalpita Sangeetam, we said, is refers to the compositions previously composed. So the Kriti, the Varnam, Tillana, Padam Javli, all these are all pre-composed pieces, and this is what they call as Kalpita Sangeetam. Now Sarangadeva actually speaks of the Gana, and he refers to it as the popular music compared to the Gandharva music, which he calls as art music. And this Gana, again here he refers, that is what is earlier we mentioned the two terms Nibaddha and Anibaddha. Baddha actually it comes from the root word bandha, which means to actually bind. So Nibaddha means that which is bound, and Anibaddha means that which is not bound. So in the context of what Sarangadeva has said, if you look at Nibaddha music, that is that which is bound, we could probably give examples of the Prabandhas, which are all well-knit compositions. And in the type of Anibadha that we are talking about, we could probably refer to the Alapti, which was there earlier, very similar to the Alapana type that we are talking about today. And where we see that there is no binding in terms of the compositional type. So it is a free kind of a imaginative form that he is talking about here. And from the description of Sangeetha Ratnakara, one gets a feeling of improvised, referring to music that is put together or shaped during performance, and as opposed to something which has already been put together. So this is what I also said, that where the unfolding happens on the spur of the moment, and it is never preconceived, or it is not pre-thought in terms of the construction one after the other, what will come. It's not like that. And but whether it is improvised music or whether it is non-improvised music, we see that what is created must be good music, and in other words, what is presented must be art and an object of beauty. So whether you are creating music through a composition, or whether you are creating music through an improvisation, say like an alapana or a kalpanaswaram, the ultimate goal of the artist is to create something as an object of beauty, and something which is very aesthetic. That is very, very important. And in this respect, both improvised and non-improvised work towards the same goal, that is creation of an artistic piece. So we could probably also say that the goal of both is the creation of something artistic and beautiful, but the means towards that goal, that is whether it is through improvised or through whether it is the non-improvised music, we see that the method adopted may be different, but the end goal of both is to create something very aesthetic for the listener. And to be even more specific, we could say that improvisation is not the end, but still only a means to an end. And another point, of course, is that whether the artist is doing some improvisation or is already trying to create the non-improvised music, he has to adhere to certain rules. Just because he is creating something, improvising on the spot, it doesn't mean that he can use his imagination to his whims and fancies. Especially in classical music like Carnatic music, we see that there are certain rules and regulations in terms of the raga, tala, laya, then the rules of text, and everything is there, and the performer has to really adhere to all these rules, whatever he is trying to create, whether it is improvised music or non-improvised music. So we are bound in the sense of certain rules which are there, and but within that what we call as a boundary, within that so many possibilities are there in terms of exploration. So I could also probably sum up the whole thing by saying that improvisation is the beautiful imagination of the artist which comes on the spur of the moment, but this improvisation is got its own boundaries which are set by the tradition. Whatever, if it's Carnatic music, there are certain rules and norms. But we should also understand that rules are not about restricting the manodharma. The rules are like, giving you a framework. But the beauty of Carnatic music is that within this framework, we see that there are immense possibilities for exploration, for improvisation. And that is what makes the listening process or the performing process a beautiful experience.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.